Imagine you're 25,000 feet above Europe. Alone, your squadron is gone. Your radio is dead. And 9 enemy fighters are circling your plane like vultures. Most pilots would bail out. But the American pilot in this story didn't. For 30 minutes, he fought alone in the sky during one of the most dangerous air battles of World War II, and somehow survived a fight that should have killed him 10 times over. This is the unbelievable true story of the U.S. fighter pilot who refused to quit. Welcome back to Civic Mind Facts, where we explore forgotten American stories, historical moments, and unbelievable real events. Today's story is about the American pilot who took on an entire enemy squadron. Solo. His name was James Howell Howard, a Missouri-born, Texas-raised pilot who wasn't supposed to be a hero that day. Before the U.S. even entered World War II, Howard was already a combat veteran. He'd originally flown for the U.S. Navy, but his thirst for action led him to resign his commission and join the legendary Flying Tigers in China. There, he sharpened his skills against some of the best pilots in the world. He became an expert in dogfighting, high-altitude combat, and even survival behind enemy lines. By the time he joined the U.S. Army Air Forces, he was already considered a natural air warrior. In early 1944, Howard was assigned to the 354th Fighter Group, flying the brand-new P-51 Mustang. This wasn't just any plane. It was the most advanced long-range fighter in the American arsenal. It was fast, powerful, and deadly. And that plane, along with the man flying it, was about to be pushed to its absolute limit. The date was January 11th, 1944. The mission was a massive bombing raid on a critical aircraft factory in Oschersleben, deep inside enemy-controlled Europe. Hundreds of American B-17 bombers, known as flying fortresses, were lumbering toward their target. Howard's job was simple: escort the bombers, protect them at all costs, and stick with your squad. In the violent skies over Europe, your wingman was your lifeline. Flying alone was a death sentence. But halfway through the mission, everything started to go wrong. Heavy crosswinds began to tear the American formations apart. Howard's section got separated from the rest of the fighter group. At the same time, radio interference grew stronger and stronger, crackling in his ears until it was nothing but static. And then, in a terrifying moment of realization, he looked around and saw nothing. He scanned the vast, empty blue sky. No wingman. No backup. Just him, his P-51, and the cold, thin air. Then he saw them, dots on the horizon, growing larger by the second. Enemy fighters, lots of them. Messerschmitt Bf-110s and Focke-Wulf 190s. Fast, aggressive, and built to shred bombers to pieces. They were heading straight for the vulnerable B-17s, which now had no fighter protection. In that moment, Howard had a choice. He could turn back, try to find his group, and save himself. Or he could dive into a fight he could not possibly win. For James Howard, it wasn't a choice at all. He didn't hesitate. Howard pushed his throttle to the firewall and dove straight toward the bombers. The bomber crews, huddled in their freezing planes, couldn't believe what they were seeing. A single silver Mustang was charging headfirst into a swarm of over 30 enemy fighters. The moment Howard was in range, he squeezed the trigger and all chaos broke loose. His 6.50 caliber machine guns roared to life. He took down the first enemy plane almost instantly, watching it trail smoke as it fell from the sky. He then banked hard left, lined up another fighter, and took down a second. But the enemy quickly regrouped. Now they were all focused on him. Howard was fighting multiple planes at once, dodging, rolling, diving, and climbing in a dizzying ballet of survival. From their turrets, the B-17 gunners watched in awe. On the radio, they started shouting encouragement. "Look at that Mustang. My God, look at him go. He's still going. He's taking them all on by himself. One B-17 crew later said, "It was like watching a movie." One guy against the whole Luftwaffe. For what felt like an eternity, Howard held them off. But his ammunition was running low, and the worst was yet to come. Halfway through the desperate fight, the nightmare happened. Howard squeezed the trigger and heard nothing. His guns had jammed. He was now a sitting duck. Enemy fighters saw their chance and began to close in. The bomber formation was wide open. The odds had gone from terrible to completely impossible. So Howard did the only thing he could. He decided to bluff. He pretended he still had ammunition. He continued diving straight at the enemy fighters, flying directly into their machine gun fire. He would charge at them head-on, forcing them to break formation, scatter, and pull away from the bombers just to avoid a collision. He was using his P-51 as a shield. In the cockpit, with enemy rounds ripping past his plane, Howard later said he thought, "If I was going down, I was going down swinging." For over 30 minutes, he defended those B-17s, chasing away enemy fighters, even though he had no working guns. The bomber crews watched a single man push the limits of what a human being and a machine could possibly do. Finally, with the enemy fighters scattered and low on fuel themselves, Howard disengaged. He was exhausted, his plane was damaged, and he was running on fumes. He somehow made it back to his base in England. The moment he landed, the ground crews ran out to his battered P-51, expecting to see a whole squadron return. They shouted over the engine noise, "Where's your squadron? Where's your wingman? Who else was with you up there?" Howard calmly shut down his engine, opened his canopy, and replied, ... no one. It was just me. The entire airbase went silent. They couldn't comprehend what he was saying. But when the bomber crews returned from the mission, the full story came out. They filed over 30 separate eyewitness reports, and every single one of them said the same thing. One American pilot saved our entire formation. The military brass was stunned. Howard's actions were so extraordinary that he became the only fighter pilot in the entire European theater of World War II to receive the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest award for valor. General Dwight D. Eisenhower himself called Howard's fight one of the greatest displays of bravery in the history of aviation. And to this day, the United States Air Force still teaches his mission as the ultimate definition of fearlessness. Because for 30 minutes, against impossible odds, James H. Howard fought alone and won. If you want more incredible American World War II stories like this one, hit that subscribe button, because the next video might be even crazier. Thanks for watching.